Hello everybody, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I know that last week I posted a video and technically that was my first one in a long time, but I'd like to think of this one as the main grand return of CL Animator. It's time to do another Not As Bad As You Think. I'll start with this and then see where the wind carries us afterwards. So let me waste no more time and get right into today's topic. Ever since I was a kid, I've been really good at art, specifically from when I was watching Fairly Odd Parents. I can remember specifically this Butch Hartman clip that happened on Nicktoons where he was like teaching people how to draw Cosmo and Wanda, and I remember pausing the DVR. Yes, Jesus, I'm old as hell. Pausing the DVR so that I could practice drawing the characters that I liked from the show. Since then, I kind of always knew I wanted to be some sort of cartoonist, animator, just anything involving really cartoony characters and ADHD-fueled animation. Growing up as a young black kid in the 2000s who was really good at art, you kind of either had people that were really supporting you heavy or people who just didn't treat your dream realistically. And it's not like I was the most amazing artist of all time back then or something, but people had a tendency to treat me like I was a golden goose when I drew pictures really nicely, specifically in like public high school. I remember that I would just kind of draw doodles in the back of the class, show it to people, and they would go a little crazy. But when I did try, I did make some pretty good stuff, which is why I decided to go looking for an art school, specifically something with an animation major so that I could really sink my teeth into what it would be like to be, well, an animator. I grew up watching Egoraptor animation. I grew up watching Zach Hadel before Smiling Friends. So I always had weird cartoon blood in my veins. Around the end of high school, I decided to apply to this HBCU that happened to offer an animation program. And I was on my way to get there before yes, the big bad boogeyman of 2020 that came and struck my friends off of our pedestals. As a direct result of the quarantine, I ended up spending the first semester of my college career at home. Now, at the college I went to, you couldn't actually go into your focus, which is the major you applied for, until your sophomore, junior year. They had something called portfolio reviews at the end of every school year, and if a group of teachers agreed with the direction you were going in, they would push you towards it. But if they saw you in another one that you could do good with, they'd take you there. But that's a story for another day. The first class that I had to do this semester was Drawing 1. I'll never forget that first class sitting there 20 minutes early because I was afraid that maybe I'd miss something if I didn't do that. Thankfully, me coming 20 minutes early meant I got to meet a couple people from the class before the teacher got there. And one of those people in the upper right-hand corner, sitting there with her hair tied up in this big old baggy shirt, would end up becoming my go-to friend up at school. This girl and I would go on a revolutionary run. But I will tell you more about her at another time. So, we're sitting there waiting, and after a cool 20 minutes, the teacher appears, and his name was Miguel. If I could think of a couple of colorful ways to describe Miguel, I would say them as follows. Head, asshole, fuck face, fuck for brains, shit for brains, ass muncher, dick licker, semen sucker, fuck nugget, ass maker, cock jugger, fluff maker, shit bocker, and Yes. So as you can see, I do not have a very soft spot for this particular human. Miguel showed up to class, and the very first thing he decided to say was, "For those of you that came early, thank you, but I would prefer if you guys came in at exactly the time this class starts. I don't feel like opening the Zoom link and seeing all of your faces right away in the morning." Okay. Cool start. I guess that's just how we're gonna start. Okay. So after giving us a brief introduction to what the class would entail, he pretty much told us, okay, for the next 2 hours, I want you guys to hop off of Zoom and draw me a still life, and then return to the call and we will look over it and discuss together. Bye. And just leaves. So for those of you who don't know, most art classes in school last between 3 to 4 hours at a time. Now, while I was experiencing this for the first time, I thought that shit was crazy. The concept of literally being in a space for 3 to 4 hours straight, doing nothing but art. Now, you'd think that like if you like doing art, that just constantly drawing would be an amazing thing that you love, but I'm not gonna lie to you. You need breaks. you need breaks. And I think that was really hard for all of us. You gotta remember, most of the people in my class came from those public schools where we were praised for doing the least. So it's not that we didn't want to do more, we just didn't know what it would take. And now in hindsight, looking at those 3 hours, it makes a lot of sense. I don't think I would have been able to develop a lot of the tools I did as an artist if I didn't literally spend most of my day drawing the way that I had to. But I digress. Now, the main way me and Kayla began our friendship was by hopping on a Zoom call in between these classes with Miguel to talk about what we were doing. I remember for the first couple of classes, we didn't really understand what he was asking us to do by still lifes and shadings and shadows, so we would just hop into Zoom and talk back and forth with ideas. And that was the main way that we ended up bonding and realizing that we both actually gave a fuck about art. That's the other thing. There's a lot of people who just think that art school is supposed to be fun and games. It is quite the opposite. Like I said, at the end of the semester, if you do not have your shit together, they will literally kick you out of the program. Yes, I have so many people that went into that class with me, and I remember distinctly on like the 3rd or 4th class, I went in there and it was like 6 of us left. And I remember, me personally, I took that as a, oh, like, I guess some of y'all just didn't want to do the work, and I understand that. But this nigga Miguel, he comes in with, oh, well, I guess some of them just weren't built for it. I understand, but I'm glad you guys are here to suffer through the rest of it with me. Dude! So we come back after 2 hours with our prepared sketches. He looks over them and he says, is this really the best you guys could do? Like, did you guys not learn about this at school? Did you not have an art teacher teach you this at school? Like, what are they teaching you guys these days? Like, they really sent you to art school thinking you'd be capable of handling it and you couldn't do this? Like, why are some of you here? Do you really think that y'all are going to get by drawing like this? Like, it's just going on and on and on and on. And it got to a point where every class, he was just talking shit on us. He did more of talking shit than actually teaching us how to improve our art. That was pretty much our loop for that first drawing class. We would come in, he'd berate us for the morning, dismiss the class and go work on a drawing or something, bring it back to him an hour later, and then he'd talk shit on us and give us homework. And we pretty much looped like that for the rest of the semester. Now, like I said, the constant shit talking for someone who spent pretty much most of his childhood hearing about how great and amazing and individualistic he was, it kind of shattered me a bit. I'm not gonna lie, it shattered me a little bit. I remember there was one night where I really had to think about whether or not I was gonna drop out of that class or not, knowing that if I dropped out of that class, I was not gonna be able to be an animator, knowing that I was not going to be able to do any of the things that I've been wanting to do since I was a child. And I had to look at myself and be honest, I want this shit, and you're not gonna stop me. So I buckled down, grit my teeth, and ate that horse! That being said, I blasted my way through the first semester with that mentality, and by the second one, COVID had lightened up enough that I was able to go on campus and actually meet a lot of these people I was in classes with. I don't think Kayla ended up coming down until the next semester after that, but I did end up meeting a lot of people that I was in classes with alongside that, so now I was actually able to have the social life of college that balanced out the work. And thankfully, because of that, I didn't really get as stressed out as I did that first semester. Once it came time for the school year to end and we were at our finals, I'll never forget the fucking speech this douchebag had for us. Well, for those of you that finally got it, I'm glad that you came around. You really turned this whole class around. I seriously did not think a lot of you were going to be able to get to this point, but I'm glad to say that I shaped you here. Hopefully the things that I taught you will prepare you to handle what comes next, because it's only going to get more difficult. And if you think it's going to get easier, you can leave now just like the other ones. Like, yo, dickhead, we couldn't have done any of this without each other, not you. Like, mind you, the things you taught us and the concepts you were trying to teach us were things we needed to know. But my whole point against this guy was the way he delivered his messages, constantly talking down on us. And that was all before we got on campus. That was all before we actually met him face to face. I wouldn't actually end up having a class in person with him until my sophomore year. But that's a story for part 2. Oh yeah, I do put morals at the end of these things, Jesus. Okay, well I guess the main moral I could come up with for this story is persistence. Like I said, there was a point where I really did not want to keep doing this, and I had to really think about the fact that I know what I want to make, There's a lot of stories I've had in my head since I was a child that I need to get out, and I knew that storytelling in general was just my pathway of doing that. Even though I can't really give him credit for pushing me to do those things, I gotta give credit to myself. I wouldn't have found the strength if I didn't get me to do it. And of course, I couldn't have done that without Kayla, couldn't have done it without the other people that stayed in the class, and I damn sure couldn't have done it without the people I met that second semester. And like I said, there's a lot to be said about those people, a lot to be said about that second semester, but I'ma save it for a part 2. I'ma edge ya. No dig. But yeah, thank you guys for watching my first YouTube video back. I hope this wasn't too drawn out, too talky, I don't know. If you feel a certain way about how I went about this story, put it down in the comments. Oh yeah, Miguel, if you end up finding this video, yo, your depiction in my videos are only gonna get worse, so strap in, buddy. For everyone else, y'all have a good one. Peace out.